Hello, my friends. This is once again Dr. Surendra Kumar. I want to talk again a similar topic, the same topic, natural calamities. It's quite important for us to sort of revisit and retrade this dimension and with this notion. So I'll be sort of speaking out, or the definition given by WHO. It says an environmental calamity is an event that causes damage, economic disruption, loss of life, and deterioration in health and health services on a scale sufficient to warrant an extraordinary response from outside the affected community or area. And there's another thing I would like to read out is natural calamities adversely affect the lives of a large number of people and cause considerable damage to infrastructure and property. The ill effects of more pronounced in developing countries due to lack of preparedness, lack of sufficient warning system, and lack of facilities for quick access to the site of calamity. In my past video, I've definitely and certainly talked about these three dimensions and areas. Once again, I just feel the need of repeating and reiterating these three areas or issues or maybe disconnects, I will say. Preparedness, one is like it is more pronounced and categorically sort of spelled out in developing countries as compared to developed countries. Preparedness is one of the paucity, is one of the area where developing countries have been struggling. Then second is lack of sufficient warning system. We do have a warning system, but it is not sufficient. It is not comprehensive. It is not adequate. It is rather insufficient warning system. And then another area is quick access to site of calamity. What kind of access? Once a calamity occurs or happens, a disaster happens. Now to connect that locality, there is actually a disconnect. We can't just have access, quick access to those areas. That's one of the major challenge for rescue people, for agencies, for NGOs, for government agencies to reach those areas, to reach people out and provide relief and response and mitigation possibilities and mechanisms. That's one of the area. So these three areas: preparedness, lack of sufficient warning system, and then lack or maybe a disconnect to have an access to site of the calamity. Once there's another report, just want to read out at the global level, the Asia is more prone to natural disasters or calamities. It is reported that for each major natural calamity in Europe and Australia, that's the different thing. According to CRED, World Disaster Report 1998, the ratio of the killed of those affected depends on the type of calamity. Once again, they're telling the same issues or the areas, degree of preparedness and density of population. So these three areas, the one has been just added. The first is the preparedness, then lack of sufficient warning system, and then access, quick access to the site of calamity. Whereas the fourth dimension is density of the population. The density of the population is slightly little, the number of people residing in that particular human habitation. They're just few. Of course, the toll on their life will be comparatively less. If the density is high, the number of tolls, maybe dying people or sort of affected people in that's going to be high. So that's one component and dimension I just want to talk about. This is World Disaster Report 1998. They're sort of taking data, and this has been a big report that's going to take a huge and a massive time to speak that out, but still I would say this is methodological and scientific study. Just want to sort of pick up some data, extract some data, and share it with you so that it hones up your understanding and also at the same time opens your mind. Sometimes it's very difficult to cause a juxtaposition in these kind of things. It becomes literally difficult. So we need to understand what we are into and how to understand these calamities. Of course, when we try to understand calamities, we are not just trying to sort of indulging into geographical, topological, or climatological environmental studies. Of course, at the same time we've been, but this is like I have been telling, repeating and reiterating, this is a social phenomena. So the concern, the methodology has to be a social, because any or every natural disaster or man-made disaster is a sociological problem, is a sociological challenge. So the response has to be absolutely a sociological response. So the approach or the maybe the call that has to happen, the call that has to take place, has to be absolutely and absolutely sociological. Thanks a lot listening, watching. This is Dr. Surendra Kumar, and I'm sure that made some relevant points here.